Yeah. Sorry. Okay. It's a bit. It's a bit. I think it's a bit posh. I'm not sure.
Oh, well, hopefully they do nice work.
Well, yeah.
Well,
Can we all take our seats, please? Asking in my nice singing voice. Someone turn on "Baby" by Justin Bieber. Absolutely. No, currently it's "I Will Survive" by Gloria Gaynor. Sorry. Okie dokie. Okay, so we are now at the second portion of the hustings. I have a request from the audience. Can all candidates speak into their mics clearly? It is an art, speaking into your mics, but it's becoming a bit hard for some audience members to hear. So not this, but this. That was a very in-depth tutorial there from me. So this is the second portion of our event where we have the whole section is audience questions. So how it's going to work is you must select a candidate, say the candidate who you're asking the question to, and then ask your question. It's one question per candidate. And what's going to happen is that every candidate has to answer a question from an audience member at least once before being asked again, so that everyone has equal chance to answer a question. Each question will be 2 minutes to answer. And yeah, that's about it. So I think we've got mics going round. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sandra. You're Sandra, right? That's an identical twin, by the way, before you all think I'm insane. Okay, so do we have any questions from audience members? Please, hands up. Any questions at all? Yes, Martine, can we have a question from you, please? And so who you're asking it to, and then your question.
Right, my question is for all the panel. I'm concerned.
Ooh, just one person, unfortunately, yeah, because we don't have time, unfortunately, for every single person to answer the question. So it does need to be one candidate, unfortunately, yes.
Okay, well, I'll say what I want to say then. We'll take it from there. I'm concerned your party is going to turn into Labour Party 2.0. The old Labour Party witch hunted socialists. Then they had the anti-Semitism witch hunt, which ultimately Jeremy Corbyn became a victim of the witch hunt himself. And then your party is launched. Massive enthusiasm. Jeremy Corbyn has a lot of goodwill, but I think it's now been whistled away. 800,000 people expressed an interest, and we're down to what, 55,000? And as you look at people participating in the conference and elections, that is starting to dwindle. And at the same time, Jeremy Corbyn's now conducting his own witch hunt against socialists. So there'll be people in this room who aren't welcoming your party, which is a real concern. If this is going to be a socialist party and not a social democratic party, which is very much what the old Labour Party was until it got sort of taken over by Kinnock and then Blair, it's going to be the same direction. So that's my concern.
Can we have a question, please?
Right, well, my question is, should I support the Green Party?
Ooh, okay. Who on the panel feels like they are able to answer that question? Who feels confident? Okay, Jonathan, thank you. 2 minutes.
Okay, so for me, regarding your question on whether should you support the Green Party, my answer would depend on where you are and in a tactical manner. So in some regions, such as parts of Brighton and Bristol, there are places where the Greens effectively control the council, and there's also other political party. So in those areas, I do believe we should tactically kind of step aside and even support the Greens to that extent. I've already made a public statement in the past when they asked me whether if we don't stand in Gorton and Denton was the right choice. I said, yes, it was the right choice because we cannot let reform win. So I would say, should I support the Greens? Depends on where you live. But in general, I still support anyone to stay with your party, grow your party. And, we got to work with other political parties to ensure that we would also get the respect from the Greens. So then the Green Party member would also support your party. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Before I go on to the next question, does anyone else feel like they're able to answer that, or should we just move on? Okay, thank you, Cassie. Just because it's quite a big topic and I want to cover it quite well. Good enough.
I'm going to ignore the question and talk to the premise, if you don't mind, because I heard some real concerns there. And as the many candidate who most of those concerns have been directed at, there is lots about your party I'm really frustrated with. I would suggest the most moderate left person in the party is still significantly left of the average Green Party member.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have to keep that in mind. Contrary to belief, there is a Chinese wall between your party, internal, whatever is going on there, and the many campaign. Think about what you know about Jeremy and his ethics and how he operates. And then think for a minute if it's true that, candidates are directing other candidates to be excluded or expelled. We are in a position where there are a set of rules that whether we agree with them or not, some of them I really don't, some of them I understand the purposes for them. My question is always, well, which one of these rules should that we've all voted on, that won at conference, which one of these should we ignore? If we're ignoring that one, should we ignore all of them? Should it just be anybody? I want as many people as possible in the tent. I want as many of our comrades on the left in the tent. I just think we need some patience to get there. And I don't think that's a conspiracy. We are all victims of that witch hunt stuff. If you look at the many campaign, the vast majority of us were excluded from running for things, were accused of anti-Semitism. I have Jewish heritage. They targeted me specifically because of that. I spent a year on administrative suspension as a result of that. I was blocked from being a parliamentary candidate. Every single one of the many candidates has a story of that. I promise you that is not the ethos of any of this. They're just trying to navigate this. Now, whether the your party, back rows are doing that well is a whole other matter. And whoever's elected can sort that out. But hopefully that speaks to some of it.
Could somebody pass that to Naomi, please? Thank you.
Last comment on this question.
Yeah, I think it's worth addressing because it is like the elephant in the room, and I'm sure lots of members do want to know what it's all about, what is the fighting about. And I've been an admirer of Jeremy Corbyn. I'm a Jewish supporter of Palestinian rights and have been for a quarter of a century. And I was elected to Labour's national executive on that sort of ticket and then expelled because I've been consistently, along with many, many other people, backing Jeremy and those who stood up for Palestinian rights. Unfortunately, the strategy adopted within the Labour Party was to throw a few people under the bus in the hope that that would stop the attacks. And we knew that that would never, ever work. And I am very worried that Jeremy, love him as much as I do. He was the guest speaker at the Palestine Solidarity Campaign AGM yesterday. Brilliant. He's so brilliant at all that sort of solidarity stuff. But when it comes to forming a new party, deciding what direction it should take, I've been really disappointed with the many and the team behind it. A wise old comrade of mine recently called it the Politburo, and he has not joined the Your Party enterprise because he's so disturbed about the way things are going. So, I think we have to just admit, we do not want a party led by MPs in Parliament, however much we love them. We want a party led by the members. We want a collective leadership. We don't want a group which constantly says, just follow Jeremy, you can trust him. We can't build a party on the trust of one individual, not Zara Sultana either, though she has fantastic capacities. We should be incorporated in your party. So I was really disappointed when I saw that the grassroots left slate had put Jeremy on their slate, been argued against for doing that. the many slate has excluded Zara entirely, and I think that's something that people should worry about.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Yes, the gentleman at the back, please. Can we give a mic to him? Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
So this is I don't know some of the candidates, so I'll put this question over to whoever wants to answer it.
Okay, sure.
Just give me one or two. Your party has to be, I think, a political party that can win electoral seats on a socialist manifesto, but it has to be more than that. It has to be a party rooted in the community and community organising. What I want now is to park some of the big picture ideas, because I think a really good way to understand our candidates is to know how they have contributed in their local communities in terms of organising and winning. So can you tell me, A, an example of how you have organised in the communities in which you live, and B, how you have electorally organised for socialist policies in the communities in which you live?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. Who feels confident enough to answer this one?
I'm guessing
Hillary.
lots of
Okay, yes, please. Yes, thank
I
you.
want to hear from people that haven't talked about that.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Do you,
That was no. I've already said a lot, so I would like to hear people who haven't talked about that. But
does anybody
I
else
don't
want to
want to
go?
stop you from.
Oh, I'm also going to declare a conflict of interest that he's my partner, but I didn't ask him to ask that. I promise. Yeah, so I mean, I completely agree, and as I think you've heard me talk about, that is very much at the root of my experience and the skills that I want to bring to the CEC. So when we won a Labour council for the first time in Worthing, that was very much against the trend at that time. Labour had lost when Corbyn was under attack in 2019. They were actually losing hundreds of council seats around the country, but we had built something very special in terms of what we called socialism in action, and that was year-round campaigns where we were listening to people on the doorstep and we were responding to what they wanted and needed, regardless of the fact that we were in opposition. So that meant setting up community hubs, uniform exchanges, food banks, mutual aid groups, all of that kind of thing. And it was that then turned into electoral success. Also, I mentioned, I've been endorsed by my union, the Bakers Union. I'm working with them at the moment as part of a national project around the exploitation of community food staff like myself and volunteers who are propping up a failing welfare system. And we are looking at a charter of rights for those workers so that volunteers, when they go in and give their time for free, are protected in that space. And are adequately trained and safeguarded for working with vulnerable people. So for me, I'm very passionate about the fact that we can set ourselves apart, as I've said, in terms of really building in the community and in our workplaces, which in turn then builds into electoral power. And that's very much what I hope will be at the heart of your party, and as I said, set it apart from a party like the Greens, for example.
Thank you very much. Stop that. So does either Ellen, Stephanie, or Hannah or Max want to answer that question as well? Okay, thank you, Max.
I'm going to go off piece a little bit, which is that, one of the fundamental tasks facing us now is to actually dig trenches in society. I think there is a lot of a weird mixture of hope and confusion that exists within our movement right now, that we are a hop, skip and a jump away from achieving power. Now, that might well be the case. All of a sudden, the conditions could change. But based on historical evidence, we're going to actually be in this for the long haul. It's not going to be purely on the basis of one electoral cycle or the next, or maybe even the one after that, till we're in a position whereby we have a popular majority behind us and we can actually carry socialism through. So we do need to go through a process of digging trenches in society and recognise that, yes, we want to make as much change as we can now, but we always need to have an eye on the future, because the future really is the most direct path to socialism right now. It's not going to happen overnight.
Thank you very much. So now I'm going to go to the audience. Do we have any questions? Yes, in the blue jumper, microphone over there, please. Could we try and also have this candidate specific? please. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so I'd like to ask a question to an independent candidate and a member of the slate.
Okay, yeah.
Or slates. So effectively, your party's split into 4 chunks. You've got the anonymous leadership team, you've got the grassroots left, and you've got the many, and you've got the independents. Now, Max, I heard recently that you criticised some bits and pieces and behaviours of the states that even that you're on, which I think is really commendable. But what I'm keen to understand is we need to bridge that divide with those 4 groups of people really quickly on the post of this election campaign. And we need to listen to the 60,000 people to ramp it back up to the 800,000 people as quickly as possible. And I'm keen to understand how we think we can do that, because the reality is your competitors today are going to be your partners tomorrow. And we really need to see how is what I think is the short question, is how.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I'm going to have 3 people answer this question. We're going to have Hannah Barker, as you haven't spoken yet, and then we're going to have both Cassie and Max, as I think we need all slate representation. So if you could pass this to Hannah.
Of course.
I thought you were going to get me to hold it. Oh, right. Yeah, no, thanks. So I think the power of meeting face to face is enormous. And I think that what we have to get off is only relying on WhatsApp and Facebook. I think that those forums lend us, don't do us any favours. So, and I think at all levels, people need to get in the room and talk and listen. The power of listening to each other is immense. The power of speaking our minds and having the time to chew into what I think, what you think, and articulate that and spend time doing that. Roger Hallam says that that talking makes people happy, and I would take it a step further in that it builds a human connection between us. And I think the CEC needs to go away for a weekend together immediately and spend some time together, having meetings, breaking bread, having a drink around the bar, making cups of tea, making cake, making food together, and really hearing each other out. And that's the only way that these wounds, and they are wounds, are going to heal. And that's the way that you find where it is that we agree. And we agree on 95% of the stuff. And the stuff where it gets tricky, we just have to spend time. So I don't know, I think that answers your question a little bit. Yeah, I'll leave it there for now. But it's a great question. Collaborative democracy. Naomi is whispering in my ear. I'll let someone else speak about that.
Yeah, I'm up for the weekend away, but I come with a 2-year-old that constantly has the plague. So just to warn you, nursery viruses and all. What I would say is I don't think the picture is anywhere near as bleak as the WhatsApps portray, and I agree with that. What we see on there is the loudest, angriest, shoutest voices. The majority of it is projection. There are real differences between the slates. It's not just the Zara v Jeremy thing. I understand why it's been portrayed that way. It's really unfortunate that it's ended up looking like that. But it's about some fundamental disagreements about the initial steerage of the party. So that's being thrashed out. We're in the storming stage. That's going to be like that, and it's going to stay like that. We're in this for the long haul. As Tony Benn said, toughen that up when it comes to this stuff, but it's nowhere near as divisive as it appears. I know a lot of, I don't know many people in this room because I know all the West Midlands candidates, weirdly enough, because that's where I'm up there. But these are comrades. These are comrades in the battle. When we agree on 95% of all policy stuff, of all ideology stuff, this is for us at the many. The reason this campaign came together was 2 reasons. One, it wanted to be basically an equity action to pull up some people that faced some barriers, and 2, it wanted to ensure that individual members' voices were really, really strong in this first bit, and that it wasn't outside political parties, it wasn't outside unions that dominated our foundational few years. And that's not that nobody wants them in the room, that's how it's been portrayed. And that's a reduction thing. And we're both guilty of this. You know, I've seen some of my supporters throwing stuff at the grassroots say that I've just thought, oh my God, and vice versa, because people make it into reductive politics. It's not, it's just a slight difference of ethos in these foundational years. And we need to put out set out our stall and then let members decide. That's the point of this. So ignore the angry voices. We all get on fine the vast majority of the time.
Thank you.
I would take a slightly different perspective. I do think the differences are real and I do think that they're profound, but I do think that they're expressly political. It's very easy to go, oh, it's Jeremy versus Jeremy versus. It's not. It's about two competing visions for the party that, due to the media cycle, have been portrayed as differences between individuals. Jeremy represents the more social democratic trend within the party that wants to reform capitalism and believes that socialism is when the government does stuff. Zara has become a kind of reluctant figurehead for those who believe in democratic socialism and want to go beyond capitalism and change society fundamentally, right? And so it's very easy to go, oh, it's this person versus that person. It's really not. It is two competing political trends. You named four. Anonymous leadership, the many, grassroots left, and independents. Well, it's actually three, because the many is backed by that anonymous leadership, right? And you can tell that by the way in which the electoral system was picked for this election. So when the membership voted for STV at party conference, I assumed, as I'm sure the rest of you assumed, that would be Scottish STV. Single transferable vote under the Droop quota. It's the most equitable version possible. Instead, we're in a weird situation when we have something called the Imperiale quota and weighted inclusive Gregory, the two most undemocratic forms of STV possible, that turn what should be a pluralistic election into basically just a first past the post election, which favours slates over independents. Now, look, I'm on a slate, so technically that benefits me. However, as a matter of principle, I'm willing to recognise that it's wrong. And so I do think you need to think about, you know, who is behind these slates and so on, and what they're doing.
Thank you very much. So now we have Ellen and Stephanie yet to answer questions. So can these questions be geared towards Ellen and Stephanie, please? Yes. Denise. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so my question is, whilst the work at the CEC will be focused on setting up political structures to begin with, at the same time, simultaneously, we're going to need to have a political voice that distinguishes us from the Green Party, for example. So in 2026, what do you see as the top two political priorities for your party?
Okay, can we pass this to Ellen?
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, so can you repeat the first part of the question again? Sorry.
Well, it was just a statement, really.
Yeah,
Just saying that obviously the CEC is going to be focused on setting up political structures, and a lot of the conversation so far has been around that, about how the party needs to be set up in a democratic way. But at the same time, simultaneously, we need to distinguish ourselves from the Green Party, for example. So in 2026, what do you see as the top two political priorities for your party?
Well, what I see as a success of the Green Party is that their social media campaign has been so amazing, actually, in increasing their membership. And I think one of the reasons that their success, further success, has been that they seem very, it's clear what they stand for, and they seem very united, and there's no like subdivisions. And I think for us, I think the priority has to be focusing on what we actually stand for, and relating that to what the community care about. I think our strengths are that we really do care about people, that we don't want to fight endless wars, that we don't want to spend lots of public money on weapons. Like, we need to really let everyone know what we stand for. And I almost just like just to just tell people what we stand for, rather than confuse people with having different subgroups. And I really think it is it is distracting everyone from what we stand for. Also to engage with as many members of the community as we can. Speak to as many groups that are already doing really good work, showcase it, and get them interested in the party. Hold events that are inclusive, accessible. Put on really good social media campaigns. Obviously, with the CEC, we're going to have a spokesperson, we have a chair, we're going to have a vice chair. Let that choose a really good spokesperson, I would say, and then make them known and just spread the word as much as we can in any way we can. Another priority, is to have allocation of resources to each region, and make sure everyone has the finance and the resources and the staffing to put on events. Because at the moment, I think everyone who's putting on events is just paying for it out of their own pocket. So we need to actually have resources. I'm putting on one in Margate, but which I'm just funding myself, and we get teas, coffees, cakes for everyone. But it's I think we need to actually have allocation of those resources to each region, so that branches can.
Thank
Okay.
you. That
One
one to
step,
Steph.
yeah.
Please, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, if I've understood the question correctly, I'm sorry I haven't been doing this right throughout, excuse me. I think halfway through this process, after answering quite a number of questions about my opinion on different policies, I started to prang out a little bit because I felt like I needed to know everything and have an opinion on everything. So all I can do to understand the process myself and what I bring to the table is to bring it back to how I see the CEC. So if you're asking me what the two main political priorities should be for your party to show what we stand for, then that question needs to come from our members. And we need to invest in our process to understand what those two focuses are. That's the only way I know how to answer it.
Thank you very much. Yes, round of applause. Thank you. Do we have any other questions from our audience? Yes, in the pause t-shirt. Thank you.
I'd like to do what he did and pose this to an independent and then the members of the slate, if I can.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So obviously, like while there was all this sort of chaos with your party, the proto branches were a big reason of how the organisation was able to carry on going, but they haven't been recognised by the leadership, and there hasn't been the help that's been given for people to find members that are close to them. Like people, I'm in Epsom as well, and it's very difficult for me to find members around me to try and form a proto branch. How does the CEC candidate elected see the role of the CEC in helping the sections of the membership who have been sort of most engaged and active in helping in founding these proto branches, and help them build and expand and become recognised branches, as well as building other branches?
Okay, sure. So I if we don't mind, because both of the slates have already spoken twice. So I'm just going to give this one to Cassie and Naomi. And when we get another slate question, I will give it to Max. But can we start with Naomi, please?
Yes, okay. So building the branches in the situation that we've been in has been very, very difficult. And I think there's a lot of concern that after the CEC is in place, it's still going to be a problem, because we're being told that when we know how many members there are, you've got to then have 20% of them to form a quorum to build your branch. And I think that is a huge ask for a new party. It's difficult because obviously there's also a concern, even among those of us who support dual membership and think that we want a party of the whole left, including people who are already active through other organisations, as long as they're aligned with our overall goals, of course, and are not standing in elections against your party. There was a concern that those people would take over. But even though we haven't got the 800,000 members we hope for, we've got 60,000. That's big. That's the sort of biggest left-wing party there's been since the Second World War. So there should be enough of us, surely, to be able to make democratic decisions without being railroaded by a bunch of trots, to use the pejorative term that gets thrown around. So what I want to see is that the CEC should say right from the get-go, right, those of you who are working together in existing proto branches, call a meeting. We will choose people who that group trusts, because that's all you can do to start with. And we will find a way of sharing with a couple of trusted people the details of other people in your area who have said they want to be part of a local structure, which most people did sign up to. If you sign up, you sign up to agree to be part of the structure. And from there, people should be able to start to build. The 20% rule, I don't know whether that should happen. One thing I think is really important and is not known about by people who aren't already in it is that there's a thing called Your Party Connections. And it represents about Your Party members in about a third of the constituencies in the country.
10 seconds.
Yeah, I really think we need to build that independently of whatever goes on with the CEC and formal battles about this, that, and the other. So local groups should be getting together and supporting one another, and we build from the grassroots up. Thank you.
Thank you. I think one of the difficulties here is none of us have visibility about what's already been done and where we're at and what we're walking into and what's already in place. Typically, you set up a new party, members join, you send an email out to all the members in a region, they all come along, they form a branch, they elect their committee, and hey presto, you've got a branch. That because of for good reasons, the way we've done it, where we've said we haven't got a single leader dictating everything, we're going to put this collective leadership in place. A lot of us have gone out there and jumped the gun, and I'm including myself on that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. We've got a Banbury Proto branch. I'm one of the founding members of that. But we've now got to do that process from the beginning and negotiate with all of those groups. And there's some groups that are very insistent already. You better not change the committee we've already elected. You better not make us start from scratch. And there's other members already saying, you better not enforce that committee that's when there's a reason I'm not going to that branch. There's some places where there are 3 rival branches that have set up, they're in conflict with each other. There are some places where a branch is entirely controlled by an external political party, which technically shouldn't happen. Thankfully, I only know of 2 of those. Because we're running for this, everyone sends us all the gossip. So I know much more. I know all the real problematic bits. So all of that is going to have to be navigated alongside the legalities. I hope we can get what we can do is start off that first process, start from there in good faith, and then meet people where they're at. So the places that are already organised, we can meet them and ratify those branches. The places where there's a problem, we can support. Maybe it might need to start from scratch. But we don't know what it looks like. We don't know how much work's been done behind the scenes. And we do have data requirements to I've been in an organisation that's been through a data breach. We will achieve nothing for a year if we end up under a big investigation. So we do need to do that properly. And that's not being old fashioned or Labour 2.0. That's just not wanting to lose all our energy.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you very much. Let me stop that. Do we have any other questions? Can we have these geared towards independence, please? Yes.
As we know, we have a lot of factions among the left, and during conference, we elected for allowing dual membership. Could I just ask maybe someone who's for, someone who is against dual membership, and maybe someone who's interested in process, as CEC elected members, how are we going to decide, or how are you going to decide who is allowed to be a member and who isn't allowed to be a member?
Okay, very good question. So out of the independents, is there anyone who is for dual membership? Okay, so let's have Jonathan, please. And is there anyone who is against dual membership from the independents? Oh, okay. So let's, is there anyone against from the slates? Oh, okay, everyone wants dual membership. So unfortunately, we can only give you 4. So let's have 2 for then. Hilary as well. So Jonathan and then Hilary, please.
So I've already said something related to dual party membership earlier. I believe it is not up to me to decide if you want dual party membership or not. That's simply not the job of the CEC, right? So what I think is that the main focus is should be the process and which party to recognize, which party to recognize as being dual party member. And the process that I would support would be very similar to how the CEC is being included. Because look, I see 2 camps of people. I see one camp of people who wants to include all the socialist political party, and the other camp who wants to maybe exclude some of it or whatsoever. But I don't like the idea of having some faceless bureaucrats up there who decide, which party should be added to the list or not. It should be up to your party to decide that. So what I would suggest is for there to be a nomination form that is available both online or through mail-in options to suggest which political party or movement should be allowed dual membership. And if any movement have, let's say, more than 50 members endorsing as dual members, then you put that onto a vote. And let's say if you pass the threshold of 50%. So if more than half of the people believe that party should be allowed dual member, that should be added to the whitelist. That would be the process that I will initiate and support if I got elected into the CEC, is to give everyone a voice on which party to allow dual membership. So that way it is decided democratically with consent from everyone. Thank you. And
yeah, I think I'm in broad agreement with all of that. I mean, I don't feel it's my role to police people's socialism. I also think that because of the frankly the mess of your party, we're not in a position to be asking people to abandon their political affiliations either. I also do believe it should be up to the membership to decide, and so if parties want to be on that sort of whitelist of dual membership, they should be allowed to put themselves forward for that, and that members should vote on that. Personally, I do think it's really important, however, that we are united behind a vision as a party and as a distinct party. I don't want us to be a fragmented party that is influenced by different parties who are then influenced by their own central executive committees, etc., etc. So personally, I would like to see, after a grace period, some kind of merging and other parties being asked to merge into your party. But again, that wouldn't be a unilateral decision for me. That would be a decision for the whole membership.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for independents, please? Yes, grey t-shirt, thank you.
So this question's about standing candidates in...
Sorry, can we give her a mic? Thank you.
This is a question about standing candidates for the 2026 elections in May. So with the rise of reform and their Department of Local Government Efficiency and people facing huge council tax rises that will hit working class people the hardest, isn't it vital that we stand candidates on an anti-austerity or anti-cuts ticket to show that there is an alternative?
Thank you very much. So for this, I'm going to go with Hannah and Stephanie, please. Thank you.
So I think one part of this is back to the question about whether we work with the Greens. And so one of the local things that we can do, if there is a place where we think that we might want to get behind a Green candidate, is that we use that as an opportunity to really challenge them on their record of delivering austerity cuts. So we may be in a situation where the Greens are the strongest candidate, but if your party is strong enough, and we want to clarify on who we are, what we're doing, our socialist positioning, but we have to use that as an opportunity to say, right, okay, we're willing to get behind you, but what are you going to do if you get into power? Are you going to repeat that same record of delivering austerity cuts? And we need to do some learning about what the alternatives are to not doing that. And personally, I don't know the ins and outs of that, but I do know that there are models and there are ways of not following that pattern. And I think that's really important. And so that's one thing to say about your question. Sorry, do you want to go to somebody else? Or I might have some other notes.
Yes, let's go to Stephanie. Thank you.
Hi. So yeah, I think anti-austerity as a stance is going to be a great one. Sorry, I'm doing it again. Definitely, for example, when it comes to bringing together what unites us as opposed to what divides us. So when you're talking about the increase of the far right, I think maybe Naomi said earlier on, it's very easy to get into positions where you are othering. And to an extent, find your words, Steph. You want to focus on what the true things people want change is. My articulation is awful. Let me try that again. You want to find the root cause of why people are wanting change and why we are scapegoating immigrants, for example. And a lot of that will be because of austerity. It will be cuts to our services. So when you talk about having anti-austerity as a stance, absolutely. I would revert back to what I said earlier on, though, in terms of candidacy, that you would need to look at each area individually to see what the political landscape is, because I know from people I've spoken to in our area is that there's a real concern about there being a kind of a water down of votes, and therefore giving reform more of a chance to come in if we don't already have that base in our area, for example. And did you want that back? Sorry.
If do you want to speak, Hannah? Did you have something else to say, or can we pass to Hilary? Okay, Hannah and then Hilary.
No, just one more thought about that. It also may be an opportunity if we're challenging the Greens on anti-austerity and us delivering austerity cuts, and we find that they do not have a promise not to deliver. You've got a basis then to stand an independent candidate or your party candidate. That's just another thought. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. I just I want to just add something to this as a local councillor. I think it's really important to acknowledge that there are no anti-austerity budgets in local government at the moment. There are austerity budgets and there are illegal budgets. So that's the choice facing local government at the moment. And so I'm worried about us taking a tack of attacking the Greens on this, because what we actually need to be doing is pressuring Labour, who are actually talking the talk of the Conservatives that they attacked in order to get in government. So the Greens should not be our line of attack on this, but what we should be doing is we should be holding them to account, and that's where I agree with you, Han, on it's the mechanism. So we did this in Worthing, where we won a council through Labour, and we redirected money that we knew was there and being wasted into the community, spending nearly £1 million on supporting community organisations to feed people, completely redesigning the community infrastructure levy, which is the money that goes from developers, and taking that into a grassroots approach where community and voluntary sector organisations actually chose where that money was going. So it's about articulating our vision for what that looks like within the reality of what is still an austerity-laden local government that Labour is inflicting on us. So I just wanted to kind of add that into the mix, because I get a little bit frustrated by us focusing on the Greens in this picture, and not Labour.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you very much. So can the following question be for Ellen, as I'm aware she's only spoken once. Any questions for Ellen? Yes, lady in the back, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lots of interesting talk and lots of interesting contributions. I just want to know what you think about the future for young people. That was alluded to, and we know very well how bad it is for young people in terms of their accommodation, in terms of their student fees, etc. So if you were able to actually move on, what would you be persuading? What would you be actually raising on the doorstep to people as to what you can do and what you want others to be encouraged to do as well.
Thank you. There you go.
There goes the stuff.
Thank you for your question. Yeah, it's a really interesting point. I do think things have really got quite terrible for people. Tuition fees are just like, I don't even know the amount of debt that people are in by the time they graduate. It's just kind of ridiculous. And also in terms of children, a quarter of children in the Southeast region are in poverty. Also the cost of living for them, like I looked into it, we're at like 36% on average that we're spending on our living expenses or our rent, and 30% is supposed to be like the affordability threshold. So yeah, people must be really feeling the pinch and, you know, having to choose, like having to shop, choose like what to eat and buy cheaper things. And yeah, I understand. So what would I try and do to improve things? So I think it's, in terms of like the whole socialist vision of your party, it's about telling young people that we're going to take the power away from private companies and put it back into public hands, and then there'll be greater infrastructure, there'll be more opportunities for people, public services will be better, transport costs will be reduced, and we're going to look into building more affordable housing. So that'll improve their, you know, income to expenses ratio. So yeah, just it's a lot to do with the socialist core values. You know, if accommodation's cheaper and there's more jobs and people can actually get to places of work for a lot cheaper, then there's going to be a lot more opportunities for people. Yeah. I would go out and speak to as many young people as I could and find out what their concerns are and try and address them one by one, basically.
Thank you. There you go.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions, particularly for independent candidates, please? Oh, yes, Sandra.
There's a question that's come through on the chat, which is how do you envisage your party engaging with ethnic minority groups who've been disengaged and disillusioned with politics? So what specifically would you do differently?
Who feels confident to answer that one? Stephanie?
Yeah.
And then we'll go to Jonathan afterwards.
Again. Yeah. So I spoke to this the other day. There's a writer called Helene who writes about politics without politicians. And it's about focusing on how do you hear from all voices. And part of that is recognizing when you talk about shy voices, for example, why are they shy? And it's usually because of the structures we have in place that have made people feel that they are unable to speak to politics. They don't see themselves represented, and they don't see, politics isn't them. And I include myself in that. Like, I'm not sure I see myself represented. I'm not sure that some of the processes that we have are supportive currently of making sure that all voices are heard. There are a lot of voices missing from our candidacies, and I include myself in here. The Southeast ain't repping, for sure. There are voices missing. So for me, again, it's going out into the branches and making sure that your structures are enabling everyone to be heard. If people feel like they want to create working groups or support groups within that, then that would also be a good idea. I think that's what I'd like to say to that.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yes, thank you. Right, so in terms of the inclusion of ethnic minority into the leadership, I believe myself is actually one of the prime example. So, you very seldom see actually people from my ethnicity in politics, and I'm proud to be the only East Asian person within the ballot nationally who got shortlisted, especially for a neurodivergent person like one myself. So I'm very proud to be shortlisted. And I think in terms of ethnic minority or immigrant groups, one of the things that I personally see is that a lot of them might be coming from places that could be culturally more conservative, for example, and a lot of them might also come from a more middle-class background, as the government in this country tend to be quite selective about who they let into the country. So, but then what happens a lot of the times is that as the immigrant move into the country and they try to settle in, find a job, they very often end up as part of the working class in the country. And very often, as seen in the British government with the earned settlement, what happens is that they're going to start attacking these immigrants. So these kind of events and life experience of the immigrants are going to slowly then push the immigrants leftward. So in my opinion, in order to get ethnic minorities and immigrants more involved within left-wing politics, it is for us to reach them directly, reach their concern, explain to them why the government are attacking them, why are they blaming on the foreigners, why are they blaming on the immigrants, and show them an alternative. There's an alternative in this country that they could support, and this is what I would say to other ethnic minority in terms of the idea of how to get them involved to participate in politics. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. Of course, Naomi. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, in a way, I think this is such an important issue. It doesn't really matter how it plays out in terms of this election. I think we really need to look really carefully at how we make our politics inclusive. Apparently, I don't know if any of you noticed, but one of the London candidates is an independent called Khalid Sadour, who's been working very hard with independents in Enfield. He's Muslim, as you might guess from his name, and he's running something called the Your Party Muslim Network. They had a meeting last week, which, if they put it online, I really recommend. I had never heard Muslims explaining how their faith is entirely compatible with being socialist and with not being in any way prejudiced against people of other minorities. So as you know, there's been a bit of accusations against Muslims as if they were a homogenous group who were socially conservative and anti-trans. And that meeting was really enlightening in that respect. As a Jewish person who has had my background weaponized in the whole political discourse over the last few years, I really think we have to be so careful never to do that, never to suggest that this group is represented by this little clique who've seized control of their particular identity. It's so damaging and so divisive. It's something that's on my mind a lot. So yeah, there's more. We could have a wonderful discussion just about that subject, I think. I just wanted to say a few things on that subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have another question? This can either be for independents or for the member of the grassroots left, Max Shanley, please. Anyone? Oh yes, green jumper. Thank you.
Hi, I'm a teacher, a trade unionist. I'm one of those darn trots as well. My union is National Education Union, which is not politically aligned. My question can go to anyone that you choose. My question is, how do you view your party's relationship with the trade union movement?
Yes, thank you very much. So I will go to first Max and then Hannah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so basically we need to take a fundamentally rank and file approach as opposed to trying to do deals with trade union bureaucrats and trade union general secretaries. We need to be organising workers as workers inside their unions against the bosses and against the bureaucracy. If we're unable to democratise the unions themselves, how can we ever expect to democratise the workplace? It's really as simple as that. When it comes to the question of like the formal relationship between the party and trade unions, if they want to affiliate, they should be able to do so on the basis of accepting our programme, but that shouldn't give them any votes, because otherwise you undermine the whole concept of a membership organisation in which the members are sovereign, because you can say, oh no, these members have more votes than you do. And we need to be actively encouraging party members to become part of trade unions as well, and also encouraging particularly our younger members who may be a bit of a loss vis-a-vis what type of career that they might want to go down into, to actually, you know, undertaking this kind of targeted employment so that they can play an organising role. Because one of the central tasks I brought up earlier on is that we really need to trigger a process of class formation. Yes, there's 6.5 million trade unionists, but you only need to look at the turnout in internal union elections to realise that yes, there's 6.5, but in reality, the actual active number is more like 650,000, and we need to raise that up. So we need to take a fundamentally rank and file approach, as opposed to trying to achieve some kind of bureaucratic relationship.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thanks. Yeah, to add to what Max has said, I think at the top of this is that there's some fundamental blocks that we have to consider, and the interlinking of workers organising, trade unions, communities and community organising, and electoral strategy. And I think that they can inform, and the more that we can think about those three sort of key nodes of activity is really useful. I think that we have to really be pushing for the restoration of the power of the unions, reversing the draconian anti-trade union laws as a real high priority of what we will be saying we would do. I think that in terms of what Max was saying about rank and file, so supporting workers and trade unions to map their workplace and coordinate strike solidarity across the different sectors, and putting resources into training and organising, and supporting any initiatives of workers' control in industry. So one thing that we don't tend to talk about is what it's like to cooperatively own an industry or a business, and what that really means. It's a brilliant model which I think that we could build on, and I think that there's some big conversations that your party need to have across the membership, across trade union activists in your party, around the block vote, our experience of block voting at Labour conference, for example. There's many examples of that not being a great situation. So how are we going to do that differently at conference? And really understand that the union bureaucracy versus the rank and file is a very different matter. Again, to be thinking about what's our relationship? What does that really look like? And well, my last note is about just how Labour has supported the genocide, and trade union leadership has just not said anything. They've continued to support Labour, and that's disgusting. So I think that there's something about encouraging those organised Labour, those unions that have spoken out, and really wanting to empower that those voices in workers, organised workers. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next question from the audience, please. Yes, pause T-shirt. Thank you.
Okay, so I think
just wait for the mic. Don't worry.
Oh, sorry.
Not to worry.
Yes. Before the local elections, the biggest priority for your party should be mobilising for the Together Against Racism demo on the 28th of March. This is a vital opportunity that gives anti-racists the chance to show that we're in the majority and build a demo that will dwarf Tommy Robertson's racist Unite the Kingdom demo last year. What task did the candidates see for the incoming CEC in mobilising as many of the membership to build your party block on the demo?
I'm feeling like maybe Naomi wants to answer that one. Should we do? Well, if anyone wants some stickers, Naomi is the person for that. So shall we go with Ellen? How do you feel about answering this one? Okay, so should we do Ellen and Naomi then, please? Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, so as similar to like any communication that we do, I think we should communicate in lots of different methods, like on Facebook, on Instagram. You can run social media campaigns to reach even more people. That if you put even £10 a week behind it, it'll reach so many more people than it would have. Put up posters, get the actual official people that are kind of running the party just now to actually send an email to all of your party supporters. I don't know who's kind of in control of what emails go out, but make sure that they let people know that the demonstrations that are going on and how they can get involved, where they can meet fellow your party members and travel together. You could, you can make banners that have the message that you want to say, but you could also have your party at the bottom so that when you're there at the demonstration, people can see that your party are standing up for these kind of really important issues.
Yeah, like Ellen said, it would be great if we actually had a Your Party presence on that demonstration, but also using it to build locally. I've been frank about the sort of rather low level of mobilisation so far in Kent, but it's one of the things that my little branch, it's not a branch, it's a gathering of a few people at the moment, Folkestone and Hythe. First action that people did was to get a load of those stickers and a load of the leaflets. I can see Martine's got some there, and target the local mosque on a Friday evening, High Street on a Saturday, go out, give out leaflets, mobilise. I'm also aware that there's a big mobilisation in Kent, and I'm sure in other parts of the world as well, where it's usually through Stand Up to Racism, though it could be a wider grouping, where people are on WhatsApp groups and getting together and having Zoom meetings and organising to approach all the local trade union branches that have some funds to say, are you bringing your members out? Are you getting coaches? This thing really does need to be huge. And I think Your Party, if it's going to be a serious force going forward, then we've got to be seen to be part of it as well. So I don't know to what extent people represented in this room have managed to get some locally branded placards, banners and so on, but that, as Ellen suggested, that would be a really good thing to do. And from the centre, we do need to be pushing out that message big time. It's a pity that the communications from the top have been so preoccupied with internal issues that we haven't done enough of that. So I hope that the CEC would move ahead pretty swiftly to get communications media in place. The skills are there, I think. We've got volunteers who know how to do this stuff. So we need to get moving on it. So I think it's big. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have time for one more question. This will be the final question and it will be answered by two candidates. Yes, at the back. Thank you.
Yeah, this question is to two candidates who want to answer it. Local elections are obviously coming up, but 2029 is going to be fundamental. It's going to be anybody who believes in progressive politics against reform. So tell me how, when you're on the CEC, you're going to organise us to win seats in the general election in 2029 and how you're going to do it on reform.
Thank you very much. So for this one, I would like to go to Cassie and I would like to go to then secondly Hilary, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So there'll have been another round of this election before we get to that. There'll be the next CEC sitting on the place. So we'll need to start thinking kind of strategically as we walk in the door now, how we support localities to get organised. There is so much work already going on out there. As I mentioned earlier, I'm one of the founding members of the North Oxfordshire Socialist Alliance. We've run candidates for 4 years now. The first year we ran, we got maybe 30 votes each, something like that. That last year we nearly took 2 seats. We were between 13 and 18% of the vote. So all that is being replicated across the country. Some people are in year 1, some people are in year 2, some people are ready to go. And all of that stands you in good stead when it comes to a general election. All of that infrastructure, that capacity that is built takes a run in. It takes time, doesn't it? So I think it's a really good question actually to plant for anyone in the room who ends up there, because we might not be set, even if we win a seat, we might not still be sat in that seat come the next round of CEC elections. So sowing the seeds of that infrastructure and support for locally for them to be thinking about a general election is really important. So that's a great question, thank you. Because I must confess, it's not something I've been thinking about yet. I've been thinking about how to sleep and survive the next day of this process, but we're thinking about it locally. So yes, absolutely, we should be thinking about that strategically from the top of the CEC.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that work has to begin now. And I mentioned earlier about chairing We Deserve Better, and that was a really great example in the general election of a campaign that brought together progressives, whatever that looked like. So we were supporting Green Party candidates where they could win, but also the progressive independents where they could win. So quite a lot of that work has already been done in terms of mapping, which we can kind of bring to the table. And there will be places that your party candidates are much stronger and will be able to win where the Greens can't win. So I think that's really vital. And having those conversations now, and again, the membership being at the very heart of that though, because I really do believe that, we often saw this, especially, in the last round of general election with Labour, where from on high, candidates were parachuted in that didn't know the local area. Members were completely disenfranchised. In our local area alone, we had 3 local councillors blocked from standing and had a candidate from London who'd never been to the area. So the membership has got to be really at the heart of that. So as well as doing that strategic mapping of seats and the likelihood of winning, it's about talking to the members and, as Naomi was saying earlier, understanding what does the mobilisation look like, what does the ground campaign look like, and also who then needs the support over this next 3 years, whatever it is, period, to really build a ground campaign. Because that's what happened to us in Worthing, where we went from, it was a Tory stronghold, to, it's now a Labour seat because of the work that we did back then on the ground, building proper community organisers that were working, all year round to build that ground campaign that led to electoral success. So yeah, a mixture of that kind of strategic thinking at the top level, but empowering members at the grassroots as well.
Thank you very much. That is everything for today. Can we have a round of applause for all of our incredible candidates? Oh no, stop it. It's gonna make me blush. No, don't. Stop. No, but thank you honestly everyone for coming. It's so important to get together. I made it really clear I wanted this to be in person because I think it's really, really important to decide upon candidates that you've seen in the flesh. So yeah, a couple of things. We need to be out of this room by 5 p.m. That includes everything in this room looking like it looked before we came in. So any chairs put away, anything like that put away. So please feel free to mingle until 5. After 5, we have a little optional pub social at the Crown and Anchor. So everyone is welcome there. And just before that, just quick notice from Martine, who wants to talk about a really important day that's happening in a couple of weeks, isn't it? Yeah. Feel free to.
But the comrades already mentioned it in the corner. But it's the Together Alliance demonstration on the 28th of March. If you contact them, you can get a pack of leaflets, stickers, and posters. They are organising coaches from around the region. And I said, get a pack, organise in your workplace with your trade union branch if you're in a college. We've got to build this. This is to counter the Tommy Robinson United Kingdom demonstration last year. 100,000 on the street. And Naomi's right. They're not all fascists. They're not all Nazis. But they are influenced by racist ideas, which the mainstream media, including the Labour Party, are supporting. So we've got a counter narrative, we've got a big fight because it's going to be a grassroots movement that's going to oppose it and get behind it. This is part of the struggle against what we have on the horizon, a potential reform government. We've got to counter the lies, counter the hate and division they are spreading. I work in the NHS. if we have a reform government, not only will there be visa restrictions tightened up, we'll have people leaving the country. My hospital, 50% of the workforce is BME. People go back to other countries, they go back to India, the Philippines, Poland. Waiting lists will get longer. That is the real dilemma we are facing now. We need to counter reform and the further extreme Tommy Robinson. So support the Together Alliance. This is one of the building blocks to the counter movements. Thank you.
That's it. The Crown and Anchor is a 10-minute walk from here. We're going at 5. Cheers. Yes.
I've got 60 quid so far, maybe about 40 more just to cover the road.
Yes, please. Thank you. Any donations to Safi would be highly, highly appreciated. Thank you.